Well, I don't think anyone was expecting a game like this. I mean, okay, we were expecting that we'd be predicting 177, but 77, really?
I remember, with 175.
Yeah.
This is just about a 102 run shot.
I went with 145.
Yeah, I was the closest. I was 135 to 140. I was like the closest, but clearly the Sri Lankan team wasn't able to cope up with the pace and bounce.
This is one game where let's consider all of our predictions null and void. It doesn't really matter what prediction.
What did Piyush Andre say?
He
145.
Yeah,
He said 145.
No, somebody said that they wouldn't win with by 10 wickets.
10 wickets, huh?
Yeah.
That's what Andre said.
Well, actually, then in that sense, he could.
That is the closest actually,
Yeah.
as of now.
I mean, actually, and see, to be fair, now in hindsight, you can say this very clearly. One thing very obvious: Sri Lanka royally messed up their call of the toss. You won the toss and chosen to bat first and been bundled out for 77. And if you want evidence of how tricky a pitch this was, the highest strike rate on the day, 100 by Angela Matthews.
Had to be
100.
Couple of lofty hits from him, and then the man on the other side, Darshan Janaka, thought that he too could replicate mindless batting, and we'll come to that. If this was not just down to the pitch, yes, of course, as Shane pointed out, towards the start of play, you could see there was that wayward bounce. There were some balls being caught by the keeper which were waist high, then there was some chest high, then we saw the odd ball stay low as well, just beat the stump. So there was inconsistent bounce to begin with, and that's never really good batting conditions. You either want those conditions to be seen out by the team batting first, but here after winning the toss, they decided to shoot themselves in the foot in uncertain conditions. Number one. Number two, and in most cases, what do you say? That okay, this is tricky, let's just bide our time, and that's when you decide to change your approach. But nobody today wanted to do that. Yeah. Sri Lanka today did what, I don't know what is it about New York that they're not liking right now. They just didn't want to spend enough time in the middle, and that just the final nail on the coffin also came by their own selves. They put their own nail in the coffin by the means of that run out right towards the end. When it's a team that's not even close to 100 runs, what is it that you do even as the final pair? Somehow just crawl your way to the 100 run mark, but then if the last wicket to fall is also a run out, that just sums things up for you.
And that's the thing. I mean, if you're looking at how it is that this went, there was not one moment where you thought, okay, this is the start of a revival. Nothing of that sort. After a point, you're just waiting. Like, I mean, in a innings where 10 wickets fall and 4 were ducks, you're just waiting. You're waiting. You're like, oh, okay, it's going to end now. It's going to end now. And it's a testament, by the way, to Sri Lanka slowing things down so badly that the first innings ended in an hour and a half. You were thinking it would end, quicker than that. Maybe the second innings will give us some reprieve. Who really knows? But my God, this was the most un-T20 game I've seen. And see, I don't mind conditions. I don't mind bad conditions. So I'm not going to call out the conditions. Instead I'm going to put the onus on the batting team and said, listen, if you figured out it was tricky conditions, why not look to get the ones and twos?
This, by the way, I was looking for that confirmation which we have now. This is the lowest ever T20 I score.
Is it 77?
Lowest ever T20 I score ever?
Sri Lanka's.
Oh yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
But I think I would take this chance to.
was ODI.
Asia Cup was
Asia
ODI.
was
But
ODI.
I would take this chance to credit South Africa's bowlers and especially Markram here because he used the resources very well. You look at Oatmeal Bartman, someone who we had discussed in the preview that he can be lethal with the new ball, and if you looked at his figures and the wickets that he took, he was actually generating good amount of swing. And as for Andrik Nokia also, what a time for him to make a return to form. Knowing that there will be some more important matches that will be coming in the next few days, so he was also used very well, Markram making sure that Nokia bowls with the old ball, which is something is one of his strengths. So yeah, full credit to Markram and the way I think South Africa have bowled, and it's Sri Lanka have really I think put themselves in a situation that a thrashing loss here would not just dampen their chances, but would also have a big impact on their net run.
And that's the biggest worry, isn't it? Is that I mean, it takes you back to what happened to Australia in the last World
This
Cup.
is Group D, by the way. I
Yes,
think
this is
D1,
Group D.
D2. I think these
Yeah.
are D1, D2 teams. And Group D, by the way, is also the group of death. There is a Netherlands in this group. There is, I think,
Bangladesh.
a Bangladesh as well. The only minnow per se, I think, is Nepal, if I'm not
Yes, yes. So it's actually the toughest group. This, and of course even Group C, because I think that is Afghanistan, West Indies, and forgetting the third team, New Zealand. So that's also a tough group. So this game, I mean, pretty much takes me back to New Zealand versus Australia last year, where Australia were hammered so badly that they were never able to recover.
Yeah.
That one washout which they had also pretty much killed their hopes. But that thrashing was so bad which they took that it just ensured that they couldn't make it to the knockouts. And I fear that Sri Lanka are going to suffer the same fate. Even if they manage to get a couple of results after this, I think the net run rate is going to be damaged. I mean, 78 runs needed to win in 20 overs. If I'm South Africa, I'm going hell for leather. Doesn't really matter what the conditions may be.
And a lot of credit, I think, goes to Markram again, because the way he read the conditions, playing 4 paces on this wicket was a very good decision to make, especially after what we saw in the India-Bangladesh game. I don't think anyone would have gone with 4 pacers. He read the conditions fresh and he went with his instincts and followed that. But again, what I was talking about in the dugout also, there would be teams who would come out and play with the same mindset, either which way, even if they're losing wickets or they are not. That's exactly what Sri Lanka did, and I think that's also because you're going to do that. They know that reaching
mindlessness.
No, but I still think that
this was mindlessness. Again, what was their score?
And now
Kusal Mendes, if going by what you're saying, Kusal Mendes, look at his numbers, 19 or 30.
Yeah, I do agree with
that's not helpful.
What I'm trying to say is that the teams now, especially I think the IPL has a very big impact on this also, that the teams have now realized that reaching about a 120 is of no point. It's not going to be a fighting total as if they reach till 120. They want to go all guns blazing, so that if they reach this here or there, there's no in between.
What about Namibia, Oman this morning?
I think actually this is one of the matches where I take your point, but the conditions were not right for it at all, and you have to respect the conditions. If it was seeming the way it was, if the bounce was uneven and you've got 4 pacers, all of whom breathing fire, I think you need to take a step back and ride that tough part out. And not to say it got easier to bat, of course it didn't. Yeah. But if you at least had figured out, gotten a hang of the conditions, you could have perhaps in this case gotten to about 120, 130, which I don't know could have actually had you in the game. Especially if the conditions don't ease.
Sri Lanka's, I think, fate was pretty much sealed by the way they batted in the power play. I think they scored around 24 odd runs, which was also the joint lowest score in the T20 World Cups. So I think from that period they had a lot of catching to do and catching up to do, and that's where I think they are. That's why they are 77 all out. In case of South Africa also, it's going to be the first few overs only. They managed to, just play out the first 3 or 4 overs for maybe 20-30 odd runs. I think it should probably seal the deal for them.
Absolutely, I don't see any way. Again,
there's actually no point doing predictions over here as far as the winner. This was anyway a 4-0 prediction.
5-0. Shivam also picked.
Shivam also picked South Africa.
But I did make a prediction because you brought Namibia Oman into the discussion, so that's why I thought that okay, let's not
I'm waiting. I have a feeling along the way Siddharth's going to be really left field with his selections, because time and time again he's talked about. He's talked about this format being such that things can change, and there's no real minnow per se. Teams are evenly matched when it comes to the T20 format, and we've seen that in the past as well. So let's see when is it that Siddharth comes up with that
I think
prediction that is
pretty much came true in that West Indies Papua New Guinea game.
Yeah, it was very close. It was very close.
Second last over.
It was a tense
ended in the last over.
Tense match. Yeah.
That was a tense match where it definitely
Today,
didn't come to the IPL final.
What we can do right now is just predict the number of overs it will take for South Africa to get there. That's the only prediction.
I wouldn't be surprised if they finish it in the power play itself.
77
I wouldn't
power
do.
play. 78.
My prediction is around 8 overs.
Yeah, I'm thinking about 9 overs and we're sorted. We're done.
Unless Sri Lanka want to go all out with their approach, which obviously they would, and just begin with their spinners, which
That-
is
I
obviously
think
their strength.
yeah, that's what they're going to do.
But on these conditions, are the spinners going to have that much of an impact?
They've anyway
But
decided
that
to
is
go
Sri
with
Lanka's
spinners.
strength actually. That's the
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, they've anyway decided when they left out Madhushanka. They have a Thikshna there. They've two outright pacers, right?
Yeah.
In Patirana and Nuvantushara.
Actually,
Patirana's strength
so-
is basically to bowl with the old ball, and that's where
Thikshna
I think
can
it's
bowl
going
in
to
the
be a
power
challenge
play.
for him.
Thikshna can bowl in the power play.
Thikshana and Nuvan Tushara will have to bowl in the power play because Patarana with the new ball has no control.
But I think Angelo Matthews will begin the proceedings here. That's what I think. he has
I don't
done
think
for-
so. Now that's going to happen after the score. They have
Actually,
to.
why would you risk him now? It's a
Yeah.
done and dusted game.
Yeah.
You may as well go all out.
Yeah.
And plus, I don't think because Matthews can be a backfire. It can backfire on you also because how the wicket is, he could be a really good bowler whom you could take to the cleaners.
Yeah. True.
Actually, because he's not
Yeah,
gonna get
exactly.
you a lot of pace.
Yeah.
And if the ball doesn't swing,
And he's going to give the perfect pace on this wicket to actually,
he has two paces.
Then if he starts, then I wouldn't be surprised if it ends in the power play itself.
But even then, I don't quite see this match getting into the 8th over. I think 7 overs is all it's going to take.
Just
But I
one
think
more
one
over
thing
then.
that if we have
Seven.
established by Sri Lanka's horrendous show on this New York pitch or the Nassau County Stadium pitch is that it's really going to take a lot of technical skills to just be there and score your runs, and that's where I feel
Kef.
a team like India might just benefit.
And Mohammad Kaif made exactly that point. You need
Yes.
technical batters.
You think India? I mean, look at Pakistan. They'll be opening with Babar and Rizwan.
No,
Made for them.
yeah,
right?
exactly. As soon as they've come near to the World Cup,
Which
their
again
opening has
brings me
come
back. Which again brings me back. If that is the scenario,
Yeah.
then why not have Virat at 3?
He might not even be the worst thing. Just play Jaiswal at the top of the order.
Why not then Virat at 3?
Absolutely. I mean, it just makes no. It won't be the worst thing in
But
the world.
I think that decision's anyway made.
Yeah.
So of course the South African openers coming out and
Start with left and right combination, Jaiswal and Rohit.
Huh? Left
that's what we all want. You don't get that probably.
Yeah, and I think Jaiswal would be able to adapt to these conditions pretty easily.
I mean, he did pretty well in West Indies.
Yeah.
Indies,
Test
oh
series
yes.
Debut. I
Oh,
remember.
yes.
He did pretty well there.
And he's not somebody who, I think he's more of a player who would like adjust to the situation and then play the attacking game. Yeah, definitely.
He's
but
sort of conditioned.
Yeah,
specific,
yeah.
Let's put it that
Yeah.
way.
It's not like he's a pinch hitter who will just come out and start hitting.
Anyway, we've got De Kock and Risa Hendricks at the top.
And we were actually talking about South Africa missing out on all-rounders, and in this game they did not even require a sixth bowler. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
let's take
you
a few
made-
comments.
You made Andrik Nokia today look like Brett Lee. This is the same Andrik Nokia who was being tossed around in the IPL so much
By
that
R.
he was
Ashwin.
dropped. He was dropped after a point. You conceded runs to R. Ashwin, you
Matthews
conceded runs to
it is.
Ryan Parag.
So Riyan Parag I still count.
I think let's take a couple of comments. Not
Yeah, we've got
questions.
Sarat Chandra saying
Yeah.
that listen, USA's crowd is going to be going back to watching baseball tonight, and I'm sure they may renew this ground to baseball this year. At Kutsi today, no spinner would have been deadly. Actually, yeah. But again, 2 wickets that Maharaj got you also can't discount them. Those are two
those
very
are very
crucial
good balls.
wickets,
No.
and very, very,
Yeah,
very
especially
good
the one
balls.
to I think Sadira Samara.
Samara Vikrama, the golden duck.
Yeah.
Oh, Matthews has started, surprising.
So it's getting over in the power play.
yeah,
Shashwat?
yeah. I still think so.
I just think you'll need one more
Andre
over.
has a
after
comment that South Africa is compensating for their loss to Netherlands in the upcoming game in which Netherlands going to make hat-trick. Okay, he's saying that
22,
Netherlands
23,
is going
24.
to make a hat-trick of wins against South Africa, which began in 22 and then 23
So,
in the One Day World Cup. And
What
now
he's
once
saying is you
again.
never know if this boils down to net run rate. So they're
Yeah.
in for a big win today because they're anyway losing against the Dutch.
Wickham Ekanayake, who actually is Sri Lankan, very disappointed, saying not matured enough for the World Cup. No one has the brains to adapt, and it's just we should withdraw our team. Oof.
That's a big comment.
Very.
Yeah, Chris.
But that's harsh.
Chris Silverwood
How do you
would
know he's
really
from
be
Sri Lanka?
thinking- By the
His name is
name?
Wickham Ekanayake.
So
And he's confirmed that he's Sri Lankan. He lives in New Zealand. Yes.
I think Chris Silverwood has a lot of things to ponder after this comment.
Priyanshu says, I saw many videos across platforms and realized that Americans don't know anything about cricket, but most of them know Virat's name. Don't know about cricket's growth, but brand Virat would certainly grow. Priyanshu, that's actually something we may touch upon afterwards because that's a good thing to talk about because, man, if you look at this stadium, it's kind of empty. I know it's a Monday. I know.
Monday morning.
Yeah, it's a Monday morning. You're probably not
But
going
it doesn't feel like the World Cup of anything.
Exactly. It doesn't feel like the World Cup of anything. That itself sums it up for you.
Anyhow, we've done our predictions in terms of how soon this match could end. There's only one end to it that we see. There's only one winner that we see over here. In case you still think Sri Lanka here could pull out a win, place your money somewhere. You could be a millionaire by the end of it. Bye-bye. We'll see you as the match ends. Bye-bye.
Bye.